So the manhunt may be over, but this case is only adding to a debate that has been raging for months. Watch as the director of the Memphis Police Department shares his message for the Black Lives Matter movement.
As a community, we say so often, there's a theme that do Black Lives Matter? And at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, do all lives matter? Regardless of race, creed, color, economic status, what profession that person holds, all lives matter. And this is just a reminder of how dangerous this job is.
Wow. Joining me now, Mark Furman, who's a Fox News contributor and former LAPD homicide detective, and Mark Hanna, who's a partner at the Truman National Security Project and adjunct professor of media studies at the New School. Thank you both for being here. So, Mark, so interesting, Mark Furman, so interesting to hear him say that about the Black Lives Matter movement, and yet listen to the message from Melissa Harris Perry, you know, the one with the crazy earrings issue and all that. You remember that?
The answer to Black Lives Matter is not white lives matter. Just that's nope, wrong answer. Nope. So whatever you do, Democrat, Republican, that's not the right answer.
So that required a little setup. My apologies. But she was ripping on Governor Martin O'Malley for saying all lives matter. And she was saying, no, no, listen up, Democratic candidates. That's not what you say. You know what? Tell it to that man right there who's out there on the beat working it. Your thoughts on it, Mark Furman?
Oh, I'm sorry, Megan. Well, when you hear the police chief and you hear certain political activists with opposing views on what lives matter, you just have to pause and say, of course all lives matter. But it seems that only Black lives matter when they're killed by white police officers, and when they're killed by other black people, I guess it's okay, like in Chicago or Baltimore. You don't see this same group chanting the same slogan in those communities. It's only during these situations.
What about it, Mark? Because, Mark Hanna, because you're going to see one fraction of the coverage in connection with this officer's murder that we saw in connection with some of these other killings that we have seen with police involving African-American men.
Right. Well, I think you're going to see it all over the newspapers. Tomorrow, I think you're going to see it on the nightly news tonight.
You think that the coverage of this is going to compare in any way to what we've seen in Ferguson, in Baltimore, all over?
I think any time a police officer is killed in the line of duty tragically, I mean, first of all, let's just all agree that tonight we all our thoughts and prayers are with Officer Bolton and his family. This is a night where we should be saying police lives matter specifically.
You can't say that.
You can.
You can't. You can't because you get lectured by this movement that you don't get it.
No, Meg, so this is the logic of the movement, Megan. Anytime there's senseless violence committed against any person or group of people and it's not going heard and attention must be paid, it's okay to say police lives matter. Black lives matter.
Where's the handbook? Because I didn't see that. And Governor Martin O'Malley learned the hard way. You certainly can't say all lives matter or white lives matter.
Well,
otherwise, you'll be shouted down by the group, and then Melissa Harris Perry, Mark Furman, will come out and yell at you that you don't get it.
Well, of course, all lives matter, police lives, and I appreciate Mark Hanna for saying that. Police lives do matter. They're doing a thankless job in a dangerous situation every single moment they're on the street. When something like this happens, or they're second guessed on a shooting, or it's a bad shooting, or it's a good, it doesn't matter. The media is focusing on the black and the white formula. And there is so many shootings and so many violent confrontations across this country. One happened just 30 miles from my home, May 5th. Sergeant Greg Moore was gunned down in a similar situation, but he was white and the suspect was white, and nobody will really know about this nationally, but his life mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know, the thing about it, Mark
situation,
sorry, the thing about it, Mark Hanna, is that there's no accounting, there's no even hat tip to the cops so often that this is the job they do, this dangerous job where someone could shoot them in the face when they just go up to the car looking to see whether an arrest should be made. This guy had a long record. He had served about a decade for a bank robbery, and he didn't want to get pinched with marijuana, even 2 ounces of marijuana on him. and the police say that's why he shot this cop in the face repeatedly.
Right.
So this is the danger the cops are up against.
Over 2 grams of pot. This is the grotesque, sort of tragic thing about this, that this officer, all the men and women in blue, they take their lives and sort of put themselves at great personal peril to do their job every day. And this is why the mayor of Memphis, Mayor Watson, mentioned that, look, our officers are trained to participate with certain rules of engagement. They're out on the streets every day, sort of being confronted by people who have too many unlawful arms.
Who have no rules of
guns,
engagement.
No rules of engagement, and are sort of armed to the hilt with illegal guns, or legal guns in some cases. And so he made a sort of implicit call for, common sense gun legislation when this, without politicizing the death too much. He made a common sense sort of plea for, look, let's get these guns off the street. In cities like Memphis, cities like New York City, cities like Baltimore are ravaged by gun violence, and that's why police unions and police officers
but then you have these other
usually
cities that have these very tight gun laws, like Chicago, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. The crime rates are skyrocketing as police feel demoralized, and you've got people in the streets, like we saw here in New York City, chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them now?"
Well, there's
and
no
sure
excuse
enough,
for that.
2 New York City cops wound up dead. There's got to be more than Fox willing to tell the other side of the story. You guys, thank you both so much.
Thanks.